Hey y'all, I was just drinking my sweet tea here. Welcome to Book Hooks. At this edition of Book Hooks, we're going to be talking all about Texas books and movies. So I'm really excited you came down. So the first thing I want to mention is a nod to Azle, our hometown where the library is located. And you might have seen these images of America books that different cities around the country are doing. But Azle has its own, and this edition is even signed by the authors. And it's just a really neat book with local history tidbits, lots of great photos. So if you are from Azle, have ancestors from Azle, or maybe you're just new to the town and want to know more about it, this is a great book that you can check out from the library, or you can purchase it from different stores around town as well as the Azle Historical Museum. So the next book I want to mention is one that just came out in 2016. It's called Texas Ranger, The Epic Life of Frank Hammer, the Man Who Killed Bonnie and Clyde. This is by John Bosenecker. I could be pronouncing his last name wrong. But this is basically a grand adventure that follows a Texas Ranger's life from kind of the end of the Wild West into the early 1900s where he was fighting off gangsters, aka Bonnie and Clyde. But he had some really interesting things that happened during his career. I mean, he was in literally Wild West gunfights. He had some bandit wars. He had to deal with some of the Mexican Revolution that kind of went up into Texas. He even had kind of a run-in with LBJ. And what I thought was interesting is he helped protect African Americans from lynch mobs from the Ku Klux Klan. But then, of course, Bonnie and Clyde was his main claim to fame. So if you're into history, especially that time frame, this is going to be a great read for you to pick out. And again, that was Texas Ranger, The Epic Life of Frank Hammer. So the next book, it's another history book. This one's a little older. I believe it's from about 2012. It's Blood of Heroes, The 13-Day Struggle for the Alamo and the Sacrifice That Forged a Nation. It's by James Donovan. And what James Donovan did is he did a lot of research and he found some newer documents that really allowed him to retell the story of the Battle of the Alamo in a way that hasn't been told before. So even if you've read books about the Alamo, this is going to be a nice updated version. And apparently he's a really good storyteller, so it's not one of those books where you're just bogged down with details and facts. It's apparently actually a pretty quick read. So that's a good one. The next one I have for you is actually a novel. It's called Roses, a novel by Leila Meacham. This is not Roses. Let me get Roses for you. That's our next book. I love this cover. In fact, the first time I ever saw this cover, I didn't even know what it was, and I thought, oh my gosh, it's just gorgeous. All of her book covers are just these beautiful, floral, just great covers. But she is a Texas author, and it is a Texas book through and through. So this is an epic, sweeping romance. It's been equated to the Texas version of Gone with the Wind. And so their main character is a woman who is the heiress to a cotton plantation, and she has a true love that she wants to marry, but she shirks him and marries someone else because she has to save her cotton plantation and the family money. And so what follows is 3 generations of just epic saga of the repercussions of her not marrying her true love and marrying this other man. And I have not read it yet. I know I should be ashamed of myself. But the people I know who have read it have said it's just a wonderful, wonderful read. It is quite a thick book, as you can see. But so was Gone with the Wind, and that was worth every single page. So try that one out. I also want to give a nod to the book The Sun, and that's S-O-N, not the sun like the sky, by Philip Meyer, which is another Texas novel. Apparently it's a little violent, so if you don't like violence, that may not be the book for you, but apparently it's a wonderful, wonderful book set in Texas as well. But the next one I want to talk about, we're going to get a little more political. Big, Hot, Cheap, and Right. What America Can Learn from the Strange Genius of Texas. And this is by Erica Grider, who she's been a senior editor at Texas Monthly. And my opinion on this book is when it says big, hot, cheap, and right, it's not necessarily referring to the right in terms of politics. It's saying it's right in the sense of we are awesome. But it's a little bit of a nod to the right side of politics as well. So this book is not necessarily a political commentary in terms of, you know, conservative or liberal. It's more of an analysis of how Texas has really been shaped over the years in its economy, political decisions, and what it's really done really well, because in Texas we do things our own way. We don't care what other people think, and actually it works out pretty well for us. And she actually is of the opinion that most states in the future will end up looking a little more like Texas in terms of the way we run our economy and things like that. So it's a pretty interesting read. Again, it's political, but it's not political at the same time. I hope that makes sense. But it's a few years old, so there may be some things that are a little out of date, but it's still an excellent read. The last ones I have for you a little more fun. So the first is a book that I think I've checked this book out like 3 different times from the library. It is fabulous. It's called Music in the Kitchen, and it's favorite recipes from Austin City Limits performers. And that doesn't necessarily mean that Austin City Limits performers are from Texas, but a lot of them are. But it actually is pretty cool, because I'm just going to flip open here. So you get a little bio about the musician, you get a really cool photo, and then you get a recipe that they contributed. And yeah, the recipes may be kind of standard. You know, they kind of, all these celebrity recipes they submit are sometimes just run of the mill. Some of them are actually pretty cool. But I actually found some really good musicians this way, and a lot of them, like I said, are from Texas. So there's people you've probably heard of, Robert Earl Keen, but Lloyd Maines, who is the father of Natalie Maines from the Dixie Chicks, he's a musician in his own right. He's actually a really good musician. He's featured in this, as is Susan Tedeschi, Ruthie Foster, and a lot more artists. And I, like I said, I devour this book because I just go get on iTunes or Amazon Music and I look them up and listen to the music and think, oh my gosh, this is amazing, how I've not heard of this person. So definitely check this out. Plus you get some good recipes too. I have 2 DVDs that we offer at our library. You've probably heard of these, King of the Hill and Reba. So King of the Hill, I was actually living in Washington State when this came out. And so it was so nice to have a little nod to my home Texas, because I used to live in Texas before that. Then when we moved back to Texas, of course, you know, we just ate it up. But for those of you who don't know, King of the Hill is actually produced by Mike Judge, who is not from Texas, but I think he saw the light and appreciates it for what it is now. But he's the one who did the movie Office Space, and he actually started his career with the animated Beavis and Butthead, which is totally different than King of the Hill. But his mother was a librarian, fun fact, so I now like Mike Judge even more. But if you haven't seen this show, or you've only seen a few episodes, the nuances in here can only be appreciated by a true Texan. And if you're not from Texas, well, you can make fun of us by watching this. Great show. The other one I want to mention is the sitcom Reba, which stars Reba McEntire, who actually is a pretty good actress. I was really surprised by that. She does sing in a few of the episodes, and she sings the theme song. But it's just a family sitcom based in Houston, Texas, so there's a lot of references to football and Texas and heat and all those Texas things we deal with when we live in this state. So another little local flair there. And the last book I want to mention is another cookbook, because Texas food is so varied. This is Texas Eats, the new Lone Star Heritage Cookbook with more than 200 recipes by Rob Walsh. For those of you who've never heard of Rob Walsh, he is amazing. If you find a cookbook by him, I guarantee you it's going to be good. He's won some James Beards Awards for his cooking. He owns at least 1 restaurant, if not more. And he's written about 6 cookbooks specifically on Texas food. And so what this book does is it goes area by area throughout the state and talks about how the regional cooking in the state is different in those areas. He sometimes will interview people or mention little fun facts about restaurants or different places in the area. And then of course he features lots of recipes. There's lots of great photos, as you can see. And I've tried many of the recipes in this book, and they are fantastic, and they're actually really approachable. I cannot recommend his books enough, and we have many of them in the library. And he's actually been writing these for a while, so you can pretty much find them in any used bookstore as well, and of course on regular bookstores as well. But go to your library because they're free there. So that's what I have for you today about Texas. I appreciate y'all coming out and joining me. I hope you enjoy these books and more. And as always, stop by the Azle Memorial Library anytime and let us know what you think about our Book Hooks videos and the books we've talked about, and we'll see you next time.